Hello and welcome to my channel.
Does my Valentine love me more than anyone else? A selfish question, I know. I'm asking it. Philosophical analysis will help me. But which philosopher should I ask first? I will ask Henri Bergson. Does my Valentine love me more than others? And this is what Bergson's philosophy says. This is a comparison question. I want to compare my Valentine's love for me and their love for other people. To compare something with something else, we need to measure both items. When we measure and compare two items, we assume that the small item can fit inside the larger item. The larger item can be a container for the small item. At least we can imagine this. So, my Valentine's lesser love for one person should fit inside his greater love for another person. And hopefully this other person is me. Now then, we cannot imagine our love for one person being a container for the love we feel for another person. Therefore, we cannot measure love. If we cannot measure, we cannot compare. Now, the same argument in more detail. In the Bergsonian language, loving is a state of mind. Bergson says that we cannot imagine a state of mind to be a container that fits another state of mind inside it. States of mind cannot be measured and compared, because states of mind do not occupy space. They are not extended objects. They have no size. However, states of mind are distinguishable. We can say that one state of mind is not the same as another state of mind. States of mind are all different. They are unique. My Valentine's love for me cannot be compared to his feelings for others. His love for me and his love for someone else are not the versions of the same emotion. They are different feelings. The same word, love, is used to describe them only because our language has limited resources. The language cannot reflect the complexity of our states of mind. We use words to name our feelings, but feelings are complex and unique. By referring to the feeling of love as a feeling that is separated from other feelings and thoughts, we make a mistake. The feeling of love that someone experiences at a given moment cannot be separated from everything else they are experiencing. Love, or an instance of feeling love, cannot be carved out of their entire experience. At the same time, as thinking tenderly about me or another person, my Valentine can be concerned about his work, feel thirsty, hot or cold, tired or relaxed, and have a headache. All those feelings and thoughts I experience simultaneously, as a multiplicity whose elements cannot be separated physically. We cannot even imagine how these elements could be separated, because they do not exist in space, and they do not occupy space. Bergson has a special word to name this multiplicity. It is heterogeneity. A heterogeneous multiplicity. An example of a heterogeneous multiplicity is tea that we drink. The tea has sugar and milk in it. We can clearly distinguish the sweet and milky components, but we cannot separate sweetness and milkiness from one another. We cannot place the sweetness alongside the milkiness, because they are not things extended in space, even though they are properties that are recognizable as distinct from one another. We cannot say that sweetness is larger or smaller than milkiness, because we cannot place sweetness and milkiness inside one another, no matter how much we strain our imagination. Sweetness and milkiness are recognizable as distinct qualities, but cannot be compared as if they were things extended in space. My Valentine's feelings are equally inseparable from one another. The love he feels for me, his feelings for other people, and the multitude of emotions are recognizable individually. But one cannot separate them and compare them. So, does my Valentine love me more than anyone else? The Bergsonian answer: this is a wrong question. love cannot be compared. My Valentine's love for me and his love for someone else are different feelings, not two distinct types of the same feeling. Bergson says I cannot ask my question because love cannot be measured. I'm still going to ask. I'll ask Hegel. Hegel looks like someone who knows everything. He should know about love. So, how can I know if my Valentine loves me more than anyone else? As I interrogate Hegel's writings, I get the impression that he doesn't want to talk of love as merely an emotion. He talks about love when he discusses religion, identity, and ethics. For Hegel, love is a mutual recognition between people. It is linked to the development of a person via a connection with another. When talking about love, Hegel takes me into duty and responsibility. He unlinks the pursuit of love and the pursuit of pleasure. Pleasure, for Hegel, is empty. Pleasure defeats itself because it cannot provide a sense of completion. Hegel disapproves of those who seek enjoyment. He believes that pleasure seekers are prey to their own necessity because they flee necessity while searching for pleasure as the highest good. Love, on the other hand, involves work. Love is the spiritual effort that we make to develop a relationship. It's a job. In response to my question, Hegel says this: love involves a tension between individuality and the desire for union. This tension must be resolved by developing a relationship that integrates these opposing forces. To this I say, what? Hegel explains. I want my Valentine to love me more than anyone else. By wanting this, I assert my individuality. My question reveals that this is my individuality speaking, which is selfish. Not good. At the same time, my desire to be loved is the desire for a union. The desire for a union is a step away from individuality and selfishness. It is a step towards selflessness, which is good. Being selfish and at the same time seeking selflessness is a manifestation of thesis and antithesis, which is asserting something and negating it at the same time. The contradiction between thesis and antithesis, my selfish desire and striving for a union, can and must be resolved. It must be resolved by my working on the relationship with my Valentine. The spiritual work will reconcile A. my selfishness in asserting my individuality, and B. my striving for togetherness. My selfishness and the realization of the need to be selfless will fuse and harmonize in the mutual recognition between my Valentine and me. Our mutual recognition will manifest as a working relationship. So how exactly does Hegel answer my question? How can I know if my Valentine loves me more than anyone else? He says, stop asking this question, because it comes from a place of selfishness, and I need to move away from it. Instead, I must begin the job of nurturing praiseworthy selfless love. Thank you, Hegel, for your response, but I don't want the job. I'll go and ask another philosopher, someone who respects pleasure. Plato respects pleasure. For Plato, pleasure is how we ascribe value to something. If pleasure is shaped and directed by wisdom, it is a part of a virtuous character. I'll speak to Plato. How can I find out if my Valentine loves me more than others? Unlike Bergson, who refuses to compare feelings, Plato is ready to measure and compare anything. Plato teaches that things that exist in real life can be measured against their perfect models. These models exist beyond the physical realm. They are forms, perfect and unchanging essences. The forms are the ultimate standards or measures for all things in the physical world. Everything in the physical world is an imperfect copy of its corresponding form. Using Plato's approach, I should be able to identify true love by comparing it to its ideal model. If I examine how my Valentine relates to me, and compare this with how he relates to others, I will see which of his loves is true love and which are mere appearances. I hope to find that my Valentine's love for me turns out to be true love, and that his love for anybody else is a mere appearances. The ideal of love, according to Plato, begins with physical attraction to a person. Whilst admiring that person's beauty, the lover becomes inspired to notice other beautiful bodies and admire them too. It happens because the lover realizes that beauty is similar in all persons. The next stage of love is the lover realizing that the beauty of the soul outweighs the beauty of the body. The lover begins to see beauty in things other than bodies. Inspired by this discovery, the lover begins to appreciate events, sciences, institutions, and the world. He realizes that beauty is everywhere. The lover is inspired to produce noble ideas and to create. Ultimately, beauty reveals itself to the lover, and he contemplates the form of beauty. Right. If all of the above is correct, the highest form of love is a journey where my Valentine begins to admire me physically, progresses to admire other people physically, then admires them spiritually, then admires things and concepts, becomes creative, and finally contemplates the form of beauty. So, when I ask, how can I know if my Valentine loves me more than anyone else? Plato's answer is this. My Valentine loves me more than anyone else if the love for me inspires him to love other people and things. The more he is inspired to love others, the greater his love for me. If my Valentine stops at the stage of loving just me, this is not his true love for me. The more he loves others, the worthier his love for me. Thank you, Plato. I think I will ask someone else. Immanuel Kant. I love this quote. Two things fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe, the more often and steadily we reflect on them. The starry sky above me and the moral law within me. It sounds so romantic and intellectual. Kant is the type of thinker I need. I am going to question him now. How can I know if my Valentine loves me more than anyone else? Kant responds along these lines. If my Valentine loves me because he's attracted to me, this is an inferior form of love. This love is pathological. Why? Because pathological love is a natural inclination or feeling of love that arises from our senses or emotions. Emotions like attraction, sympathy, or affection fall outside the realm of morality. Natural love is inferior because it is based on feeling rather than reason or duty. If I want my Valentine to love me with a higher and praiseworthy love, he should love me via practical love, based on reason and duty. Practical love involves acting benevolently towards others, even if we do not feel inclined to do so. Practical love stems from our moral obligation towards others. It is about recognizing our responsibility to treat others with kindness and respect. Unlike pathological love, practical love does not require us to have strong emotions like attraction or affection. It is about acting morally, especially when we do not want to. So, if my Valentine is attracted to me, his love for me is inferior. If he is not attracted to me but does good by me, this is a higher form of love. The less my Valentine wants to be with me, and the more he forces himself to be with me, the greater his love for me. So if I want him to love me more than anyone else, I should want him to be attracted to someone else, but force himself to be by my side. In other words, my Valentine must not love me naturally, but act as if he does out of a sense of duty. Let us say my Valentine is attracted to me but has a demanding relative whom he can barely stand. He calls that relative every day out of obligation. According to Kant, my Valentine's love for the relative is worthier and greater than his love for me, because the love for me is based on emotion, and the care for the relative is done out of moral duty. I walk away from the conversation with Kant thinking about a scene is Love Actually, the film. In that film, Sarah is in love with her colleague Carl. There is a scene when they are together. Suddenly, Sarah's mentally ill brother Michael calls. Instead of enjoying the date, Sarah gives her full attention to Michael. In Kantian terms, Sarah sacrifices her inferior love for Carl to care for Michael. Her love for Michael is superior because she acts out of duty rather than desire. I will ask Schopenhauer next. Schopenhauer says that true love is disinterested love. It does not exist. My question is about romantic love. Romantic love is impregnated with the illusions I have about the other person. It's a temporary state of infatuation that hides the true nature of my Valentine as a real person. My infatuation will inevitably fade and lead to disappointment, so the intensity of my Valentine's romantic love for me is measured by the intensity of illusions he has about me and his future disappointment. The last philosopher I will ask is Martin Buber. Buber distinguishes between two fundamental modes of relating to other people, I-thou and I-it. In an I-thou relationship, people recognize each other as unique and whole beings who transcend the roles and categories. Love is the primary characteristic of this relationship. It is rooted in mutual respect, empathy, and a shared sense of purpose. I-it relationships, on the other hand, treat other people as objects or means to an end, reducing them to their qualities or functions. For Buber, love is not merely a feeling or emotion. It is a way of being in the world. It is a dynamic process that involves a constant renewal of commitment and responsibility towards the other. Love requires a willingness to be present to the other, to listen deeply, and to respond authentically. It involves a recognition of the other's autonomy and freedom, while also acknowledging their interdependence. Buber emphasizes the importance of dialogue as a means of fostering love. True dialogue, he argues, is a meeting of equals in which both parties share their perspectives and experiences without judgment or manipulation. Through dialogue, individuals come to know each other more deeply and develop a shared sense of meaning. Buber suggests that love can be a transformative experience, allowing individuals to transcend their selves and connect with a deeper reality. Buber accepts that maintaining an I-thou relationship in everyday life is hard. The pressures of society, our own limitations, and the inevitable conflicts of interest can often lead us to fall back into I-it modes of relating. Ultimately, Buber believes that love is not possible to achieve, but the pursuit of love is a worthwhile endeavor. So what is his answer to my question? How can I find out if my Valentine loves me more than others? Buber says that by me asking this question, I relate to my Valentine using the I-it model. This takes me away from getting the answer I want. Instead, I must implement the I-thou model. How do I do that? Buber says to practice dialogue and ask my Valentine directly. So I must ask my Valentine if he loves me more than anyone else. Philosophers are amazing. They come up with so many different ways of saying, I don't know. They inspire me to think for myself. How about looking at love as a metaphysical connection rather than a merely emotional connection? The metaphysical connection would mean the connection of our very existence. I'm thinking of love that is not the selfish pursuit of pleasure. I'm thinking of love where the quest to be or not to be is answered like this. To be, if to be means to be with you, and not to be, if to be means not to be with you. It is Romeo and Juliet's answer. Romeo and Juliet take their own lives because they cannot be together, so they choose not to be. The strength of this bond is tested by separation. Taking one's life when separated is the undoubted evidence of metaphysical love. But I wouldn't want this to happen to my Valentine no matter what. And I wouldn't want to test my Valentine's love even with a pretend threat of separation. I'd rather not know the answer. I don't want to know how much my Valentine loves me if the price for knowing it is to go to a dark place like this. There is another way to test the love bond, a long life together. But then the answer cannot be given instantly, because the long life itself is the answer, and it will take a long time to live a long life.
Thank you for being with me on this journey. I hope you liked my video or essay. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, write a comment, You can support me via Patreon, and you can buy me a coffee. To do that, all you need is the link at paypal.me/coffee for Elena. Thank you. Bye.